The incredible privilege of serving as president here at West Kentucky Community and Technical College. First, let me just say to those present here and virtually, commending you for engaging in a very important part of our process as we have the opportunity to host the mayoral debate of candidate forum. As always, it's always an important reminder that as a college, we support the free expression of ideas. However, the positions, perspectives, and comments from any of the candidates are not necessarily representative or reflective of WKCTC. So with that, I will bring forth Amina Watkins, who will walk us through the rules of engagement. Give her some love this afternoon, all right, this evening. All right.
Thank you. I was waiting for the WWE announcement entrance, but thank you guys. So good evening, everyone. Thank you, Anton, for the warm welcome without the WWE entrance announcement. But my name is Amina Watkins, and I am the NAACP Youth and College Youth Director. I'm honored to be your MC for tonight's important engagement candidate forum. First, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of you for coming out this evening. Your presence underscores the importance of our civic engagement and the role we all play in shaping our community's future. As many of you know, the NAACP is committed to hosting these forums to provide a platform for dialogue between candidates and community. It is vital that we hear from those who wish to serve us and that we remained informed as voters. I want to briefly outline tonight's program. So first, we will hear from our mayoral candidates. They will have 5 minutes each to speak, introduce themselves, and outline their platforms for running, highlighting any of their priorities that they would focus on if elected. Following the mayoral candidates, we'll hear from the 2 district judge candidates. Each will also have 5 minutes to introduce themselves and explain their platforms. Then we will move on to the commissioner's Q&A session. Our moderators will then have 30 minutes to pose questions to the candidates submitted by community on key issues. Each candidate will then have 2 minutes for closing remarks, summarizing their platforms and vision for our community. And afterwards, I will have my closing remarks, and we will end the night back in the student lounge where you guys hopefully were able to meet and greet the candidates and have some refreshments. And then you'll be able to talk again with the candidates and personally ask them any questions that each of you may have while you're here. So let's get started. First, we will hear from our current mayor, Mayor George Bray, and then Commissioner David Guest. Mayor Bray.
Thank you, Amina. And let me say thank you to the NAACP and WKCTC for hosting this forum. I'm very proud to be your current mayor, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to serve my second 4 years. When I ran 4 years ago, I promised to focus on the revitalization of our community. And I'm happy to say tonight, I believe that we have succeeded. Our population is growing again after many years of decline. Development is happening all over the community, and you can see it everywhere. In my second 4 years, I'm going to put my focus in 2 categories, people and projects. You hear a lot about projects that the city and the county together have worked on, but our priority in the second 4 years is going to be on people. We're going to spend in several different areas, we're going to invest money on our people. First of all, we're going to spend. In this current year, we have $1 million allocated for housing. There's a housing shortage all over this country, and Paducah is no different. It's an acute problem that we have, and we're going to focus on it. Developers need to be helped and incentivized in order to work through the projects, in particular in certain areas, And I think there's been a lot of focus on the south side. We are going to continue to focus on the south side in our next term. So there's a real opportunity. In housing, many people may not be aware of this, but the city owns Forest Hills subdivision, and there's an opportunity to not only grow Forest Hills, but also for an opportunity to take their skill set and the way that they manage that housing development out there and expand that. And so we're going to focus on that. We have a Catterjohn building site that we're going to make available for a developer, and we're going to work with developers. One of the things that people notice in the city of Paducah is that our streets need to be upgraded. And we've got $2 million in our budget for this year, and we're going to focus on the revitalization of our streets. It's very important. We're going to start with Jefferson, West Jefferson and Jefferson, which is one of the streets that I hear a lot about with people, and so we're going to focus on that. We have an opportunity to improve sidewalks in a lot of our neighborhoods and communities. All of that costs money. One of the things that the city does very, very well is we manage our money, and so we're going to look for the opportunity to improve streets and sidewalks. As mayor, you know, I work, when we talk about people, I work on issues with homelessness and food insecurity, addiction, all of those things every single day. It's just something that's part of my job, and I assure you that I'm going to continue to represent those who need it most as mayor of your city. And I think my record of standing up for inclusiveness and diversity in this community, and as J.W. Cleary, my friend, has always said, our community does better when we all do better. So let's talk about projects for just a second. You've all heard about a lot of our projects out there. Probably the biggest one out there is the Paducah Sports Park. It's a project with the county, and that project is going to revitalize a lot of Paducah. It's going to drive a lot of hotel development, a lot of sports tourism, and I'm really looking forward, you know, to that opportunity. We have to manage that project and make sure it stays under budget. And we also have a 911 that we've accomplished, and we are going to manage that project. And I want to talk just a little bit about the downtown hotel project and just mention it, because I know it's been in the news a lot. Our developer, we gave them every opportunity to perform. This commission inherited that project from the previous commission, and our developer, at the end of the day, just did not perform. So we're going to take a step back, and we're going to look at that space, and we're going to consider what to do with it. And we are not bound and determined to put a hotel in there. We are going to improve parking on the right side of the parking lot, which is closest to Broadway. But we're going to take a look at that space over there. We're going to evaluate green space, maybe an outdoor event space. I'm not sure, but we are going to listen to people and talk to people about what is best for this community. Probably the biggest project that's most important in my second 4 years that we will be focused on will be on the completion of the Riverfront Development Project. Anybody that's gone to barbecue on the river in the last couple of years understands the importance of developing our riverfront site, especially on the floodwall side, on the river side of the floodwall. If you've ever been to Owensboro, you've seen that riverfront development project there, and we are going to have a project here that is going to make all of us proud of our downtown riverfront site. In closing, I just want to say that's just a few of the things that I'm working on. I just want to say, really, how proud I am to be of your mayor, how much I enjoy it, how much it is a part of my everyday life, how much I strive and work hard to represent each of you in the community and to make you proud of me, the city, and the entire community. And thank you for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Bray. Right before I call up the next candidate, I just forgot to give you guys a reminder, since we are recording and streaming live on YouTube, if you wouldn't mind to check and silence your phone. I got a reminder, so if you could check for me. While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and call up Commissioner Guess, David Guess, who is running for mayor this election.
Hello, my name is David Gass, and I'm running for mayor for the city of Paducah. I'm married to Sandra, a healthcare professional. She's a licensed RN and has been a physician's assistant for 22 years. I have 2 kids, Joshua, married to Lindsay. He worked at Mayfield Fire Department for 4 years before coming to Paducah Fire Department, now for 4.5 years. Shannon, who is married to Daniel, both are pharmacists and have 2 kids, Macy 3 and Parker 1, who live in Bowling Green. Okay, a little about me. I grew up in Reedland, went to high school at Paducah-Tillman, class of '82. I graduated Murray State University with a degree in business and biology. After college, I sold heating and air conditioning equipment for 3 years. I was a home builder for 7 years. I built 22 homes. I've been an HVAC contractor for 30 plus years. I've also been a real estate investor for over 30 years. I have 28 residential apartments and several commercial pieces. I've been elected for 4 terms to the City Commission. I have a total of 8 years on the commission. My parents are still living, Paul, who is 87, and my mother, Dorothy. My dad retired to Cadiz, Kentucky, which is his hometown. I drink coffee with my mother every morning, who lives next door. Now I have a few stories and these are all recent. These are all recent stories, just kind of what in my mind, I've been fighting for 4 years to just show the bureaucracy that has existed for years in Paducah. I had a person come to me two days ago, and he's been waiting for a permit for over 6 months. It's a garage built with trusses. He has the city had him spend over $15,000 in engineering and architectural, and again, this is a garage with trusses. At the request of the city, he called me and he said, I hate to call you. And I said, oh, I feel your pain. I told him to start, I would just call the manager, the mayor. He said he called George, and he said he would call back yesterday, but never did. And another person confronted George about calling 4 times, and he said the reason he didn't call back is he said he didn't think he would like his answer. Part of the problem, Darren Hack, we have at the Hannon Plaza, the gas pumps. Kroger put the gas pumps. They had over 980 completed gas pumps all across the United States. Paducah was the first one to deny them. And I'll add, they got them put in and never changed a thing. Just our city bureaucracy likes to say no. And to quote something that George told me a long time ago that I really respect, that he said, we need to find a way to say yes instead of a way to say no. Just a recent example, the new coffee shop on Lone Oak Road, a contractor was held up over a month over equipment that's in every building that they have all across the United States. The hospital, they were called out on something an inspector had previously passed, and it cost them tens of thousands of dollars. These are, again, just local ones. This has been going on for 20 years. A friend spoke to a local contractor. They were building next door. He said, he went over and talked to him, and he said, Elizabethtown is close, but Paducah is the worst place to build. Another Rhodes convenience store. They built 2 last year. They said they would not build another, and they're building 2 in the county right now. There's a reason that Paducah is number 16 in population. And I'll add, I love Paducah. I've never wanted to do anything but live in Western Kentucky. We have so much to offer, so much to offer. That's why I've raised my family. But we are number 16 in the state, and we used to be 5. Then The inspection department is there to protect, not to enforce their opinions, which is what has been done for years. We have a state code, not a local code. A lot of people don't realize that in 1966, Paducah was the same size as Orlando, Florida. Now, they had Disney World, so they had some, but we have so much to offer. We have rail, water, and roads. We have so much untapped potential, but we're going to need to change the leadership to make us more attractive to the industry and not just gas stations and hotels and restaurants. As commissioner, my capacity to change is limited. As mayor, together with the citizens, we can make great strides in Paducah and watch it grow. Transparency is crucial. The residents should know how and why their tax dollars are being spent. The mayor's talking about being transparent, but 4 years ago, when I asked him how the NAACP Mayor Forum went, he said, not bad considering I was in enemy territory. He chooses what he wants to be transparent about. Paducah has a long history of bureaucracy and being hard to work with. Paducah is one of only 5 cities in Kentucky with their own electrical inspection department. Other communities use state inspection department, which would save the city over $100,000 and a lot of headaches. Thank you. I'd love to be your next mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Guest. Now we will move into our judicial candidates. First, we will hear from our interim district court judge, Jamie, aka James Mills.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. I'm James Mills. I am the current district court judge for McCracken County. Proven in the courtroom, trusted on the bench. That's my slogan. I chose it because it tells you something about me. Hopefully, it also highlights the difference between myself and my opponent. I have the experience that you would expect a trial judge would need to do the job properly, and my opponent does not. I have the kind of experience and temperament that you can count on, trust to be fair and dependable as your district court judge for years to come, not just until the next election cycle, not just when another office comes available. The word proven, because proven tells you not only how long I've been a practicing attorney, but also speaks to the quality of the work that I have done. Whether you're talking about a court or a good glass of bourbon, proof tells you that something is authentic, that it's been tested, and that you can rely on it time and time again. So what is my preparation to continue to be your district court judge? Why was I appointed to fill the vacancy? I've been a trial attorney right here in Western Kentucky and primarily in McCracken County for almost 20 years. And district court is a trial court after all, so trial experience is key. My credentials are easy to list off. I have over 10,000 cases under my belt, and that's a conservative estimate. I have 100+ jury trials ranging from everything from disorderly conduct to the death penalty. I have worked as a misdemeanor prosecutor, a felony prosecutor, and a public defender, which I did that for almost a decade. I'm a juvenile law specialist, a DUI specialist, a drug court team member. I've worked on the multidisciplinary team for sex offenses. I helped administer the deferred prosecution program for first-time drug offenders to get their records clean and get their case dismissed. I administered the Rocket Docket program to help addicts in jail get out of jail quickly and into treatment. I spent a year in civil practice, and I teach criminal justice classes to this day right here at WKCTC. As a prosecutor, I secured more than 250 years of prison time for sex offenders and 150 years of that during COVID at jury trial. And finally, I'm the current district court judge. and I'm doing a good job. I've already handled over 1,300 cases open to me and have 1,100 of them resolved. But this is not a contest about resumes. People don't vote for resumes. A person can have all the experience in the world, but what he has learned from that experience that makes him proven. For a lawyer, that experience hones a young attorney from being someone who knows a little bit of law to someone who can be an instrument for justice. For a public servant like me, experience is the sum total of the lives that I've touched, be it the wrongfully accused, the victim of a crime, the grieving mother, or the guy down on his luck. I've once sat at a kitchen table with terrified parents of a 19-year-old young man trying to figure out how we could keep the state from executing him for a crime he didn't commit. I've visited kids on Christmas Day in juvenile detention. I've had hard conversations with families who were rightfully suspicious of our legal system, that we would fight for their justice. I've fought public corruption. I've ensured our whole community was able to see the parole hearing for Michael Carneal. I have celebrated with people who've gotten sober and made peace with their families. And these experiences are difficult to quantify and put into some kind of advertisement, but they're the experiences that have made me the judge that I am today. A lawyer who wants to be judged better have a sense of the gravity of the decisions he has to make and consider the impact on real people. Because even the smallest decisions in a courtroom can impact someone for the rest of their life and even ripple into future generations. You don't get that sitting behind a desk writing appellate decisions for some other judge like my opponent. You get it by interacting with real people in real situations day in and day out. Now, why does this affect you? District court is where everyday people go to court. At some point in your life, you will get a speeding ticket. A loved one will pass away and you'll need to handle the estate. Your parents will get old and they'll need a guardianship. Everyone, unfortunately, has loved ones who are troubled or addicted or mentally ill. And the district court is the front lines of where the common citizen and the court system interact. And who your judge is will matter. Now, this is the part of most stump speeches where the candidate takes some light jabs at their opponent just to lighten things up. But I don't have any ammunition because my opponent doesn't have a record to speak of. Despite my being a fixture in this court system for almost 2 decades, I've only seen my opponent in a courtroom twice. Once on a probate case about a month ago, and once when she had jury duty for one of my trials when I was a prosecutor. At last count, she's had a total of 10 cases ever in McCracken District Court. When I was a 26-year-old public defender, we called that a light morning. She's had 0 jury trials. And district court is a trial court. Now, that doesn't make her a bad person. She's just simply not the best choice for this particular position. I know she's run for a different judgeship before, and she'll probably run for the next one that comes open, and why not? With her connections, it makes sense. But district court does not need someone that's going to chase the next big thing. We need stability right now. This isn't slinging mud. I'm just telling you the truth about the qualifications for this job, because if I don't say it, I don't know who will. For example, I'm sure she'll bring up teen court. Teen court's a great idea. 15 years ago when I helped Judge Kitchen with it, it was nice. But in 2014, the law changed and it's just not a viable option anymore. She doesn't know that because she's never practiced in juvenile court. I have only ever run for this position, district judge in McCracken County, because I think I can keep our community safe. I think my career has prepared me well to do this work. I have a reasonable, fair, objective temperament, and it suits me to the job. And you don't have to take my word for it. Just ask around. I'm doing a good job as your judge. I treat people courteously. I run an efficient courtroom. I'm available when law enforcement and citizens need me. And I'm not looking to advance my career beyond this. Ambition is not my natural state. I am cut out for this particular job, and it's all I want to do to the best of my ability for you. This is an important decision. It's not time to take a risk on someone who is unproven. Our district court has been through some turmoil in recent years. And by all accounts, I'm doing a good job bringing stability to a rocky situation. And I think as I keep going, I'll make a great judge. And I want so badly to continue the work that I've started. I've earned your trust over the years as a public servant. I'm trusted to be fair, to follow the law, to uphold the Constitution, to treat all people equally, to prioritize our public safety, and to hold people accountable without being vicious. Trusted not to waste your time, trusted to be a fair judge for everyone in McCracken County, be they black, white, poor, rich, city dweller, or county, Republican, Democrat, from Ragland to Reedland to Rowlandtown. I am a judge that this county can be proud of. A judge for everyone, not just a section of the town or the politically connected. Trusted to do the best job I can for you every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. If you guys are concerned about time, the beginning was a little too quick, so I haven't been watching the time as much, but I want to make sure that we have enough time for the Q&A with the city commissioners. So we will move along and hear from Judge Candidate Jenny Hines.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be allowed to speak to you guys. And being mindful of our time, I've got about 5 minutes to make 3 points. The first one is, who am I? The second one is, why should you care? And the third one is, why should you vote for me? So the first question is, who am I? My name is Jenny Hines, and I'm running for McCracken District Judge. I'm a Christian, a wife, a mother, and a daughter. My mother is a retired school teacher. She taught at Tillman and also at Reedland until it moved to McCracken County, and then she retired. My father worked for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Cabinet for Family and Health Services, and also served in the military. He was active duty Navy when I was born, and then he switched over to Coast Guard, which is how we got back to Paducah. I grew up here in Paducah. I went to Farley before it closed, and I graduated from Reedland High School as valedictorian because I'm a hard worker and I like to think I'm pretty smart. Then I came to this college where I attended college for a year and also worked at Denton & Coiler before they split as a runner, and I decided that I did want to go to law school. So I went to Murray State and graduated with a double major in history and political science in 2 years. So in 2006, I graduated from Murray, and then I went to the University of Kentucky for law school. While I was at law school, I thought, man, this is pretty tough, but I bet I can make it a little bit more challenging. So while I was in law school, I served in the ROTC program, and the day I graduated from law school, I got my commission in the United States Air Force. If you've ever been in the military, you can make suggestions about where you'd like to be stationed or what job you'd like to have, but you know that it's based on the needs of the Air Force or whatever branch that you may have signed up for. So my first duty station was at Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri as a security forces officer. So I was in charge of a base of about 6,000 people running law enforcement and nuclear security for 4 years, for which I had to qualify for a top secret security clearance. After my service commitment, I came back to Paducah, which is my home, and joined the firm of Bell, Stover & Graves as an associate attorney. And I worked my way up to partner in 2 years because I'm a hard worker. I'll take any case, whether it be probate, family court, civil actions, medical malpractice, and I practiced all over the state. So even though I may not have practiced too many cases in the district court in McCracken County, I practiced in district courts all over the state. And once I did that for about 5 years, I felt a yearning to come back to public service. So I applied for and was given a job with the Kentucky Court of Appeals, where I served with Judge, now Justice, Shay Nickel, and then moved over to Judge Dixon's office, where I was able to work on, as my opponent mentioned, many appellate cases from all over the state. And I was able to see a lot of good decisions and a lot of bad decisions. And I learned the importance of getting things right the first time. We need to reach right results for the right reasons, because that's important. And you also learn that the cases aren't just numbers. These are people's lives and our communities that we're dealing with. So you do appreciate the gravity of that. So whenever my judge retired last year, I came back to private practice and decided to run for district court judge because I love Kentucky's judicial system and I feel like I can make a difference there. So that's who I am. Why should you care? As Judge Mills said, district court is a lot like a hospital. People don't ever want to get sick and go to the hospital. People don't want to end up in court. But if you're going to go to court, you're most likely going to end up in district court because traffic violations, misdemeanors, probate, guardianship, it touches so many people's lives, whether you want it to or not. So whenever you go to court, you want to have somebody who's fair, who will listen to you, who values you as your person, who cares about your community, and wants to make this a better place for us to live. And so that's why you should care about who our judges are. The reason why you should vote for me is because I promise to do those things. So I may not have the judicial experience of being a district court judge for a few months, but I have been involved in the Kentucky judicial system for the past 6 years. And it is my passion, and I don't want to treat it as an 8-to-5 job. I want to add value in whatever way I can. Whatever programs that are available for, whether it be mental health, drug addiction issues, or our youth, whether that may look like a teen court or something else. I think that it's important for us to add value to whatever job that we have, and that's what I would like to do. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Hopefully, everyone has learned something new about the candidates for district court judge and for mayoral selection as well. Now we will transition into the City Commissioner Q&A forum. That's what everyone's excited about tonight. This is an important segment of where our moderators will post questions to the candidates based on these submissions from the community. And we want to ensure that these issues most relevant to you, the voters, are addressed. I want to do a quick introduction of our moderators tonight, giving me a break here at the podium. So first up, I want to introduce Tiffany Benberry. Thank you for being here tonight. And next, we will have Rodney Holt. Thank you for your participation. And then finally, we have our NAACP Youth Chapter President representing our youth, Terrence Robinson. Smile. All right. So moderators will have 30 minutes to engage with the candidates with your questions. Each candidate will have the opportunity to respond, and we encourage an open and respectful dialogue. I would like to introduce our candidates for commissioner. Let's see if I can do this in alphabetical order. We have Trey Griffin, Commissioner Henderson, Commissioner Smith, DeJuan Thomas, Alan Treese, and last but not least, Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Sandra Wilson. All right, so I will hand it over. Thank you. Everyone may be seated, and first up with the first question will be Ms. Tiffany Benberry.
Good evening. Build. What is that? Better utilizing investments to leverage development. This particular project aims to enhance infrastructure and promote economic development within the city. The funding is typically used for transportation improvements, public space, enhancements, and community incentives. So, could I have Trey Griffin take the podium for our first question? Mr. Griffin, how do you perceive the level of community engagement regarding the $16 million Build Grant project? Do you believe it is important for residents to be informed and actively involved in the design of public spaces?
Absolutely. That's a simple answer. I mean, it's our money for our community. Absolutely. We should be, everybody should be involved with that wants to be involved.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that answer. Commissioner Henderson, I will pose the same question. How do you perceive the level of community engagement regarding the $16 million Build Grant project? Do you believe it is important for residents to be informed and actively involved in the design of public spaces?
Well, absolutely, it's important. As Brother Griffin has already said, it is our money, and we should have opportunity to say how that money is spent. But let me just talk just for a second when you talk about this term engagement. I think engagement should not be just a buzzword, and you'll probably hear me say that most of tonight. It can't be a buzzword. It cannot be just something that we do. Engagement means that people have an opportunity to say what they want to see, and then they have an opportunity after that to see what they said.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Smith, I will ask the same question. How do you perceive the level of community engagement regarding the $16 million Build Grant project? Do you believe it is important for residents to be informed and actively involved in the design of public spaces?
Yes, I do. Just to give a little more information on this, the $16 million, we've gotten about $10 million from the federal government, and I believe it's $3.5–4 million from the state to help fund this. So I don't want to give the impression that this is all $16 million of Paducah taxpayers' money. But I do think it's important. This project was really ongoing. I've been on the city commission most recently 2 years, so I can't speak to the amount of engagement that went on before, and particularly for a lot of the design of this. But it's absolutely important, and I think a lot of people have comments and opinions, which is one of the things that Paducah is known for on everything we do. So I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. And now we will bring to the podium DeJuan Thomas, and I will pose the same question. How do you perceive the level of community engagement regarding the $16 million Build Grant project? Do you believe it is important for residents to be informed and actively involved in the design of public spaces?
Great question, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. I believe we still lack when it comes to community input, especially on specific projects, and maybe it's just a lack of communication when it comes to when these projects or when things will be done in the city, like our Greenway Trail. It was last minute when the community was informed it would be shut down, and there was a lot of frustration with that. And I think that the city can do better in being more timely and letting the community know when these decisions are going to be made, and when the community can put input into these decisions, because it's little things like that that cause distrust in our government, and I hope to improve that sector of things. I've also felt that only certain voices are heard when it comes to these projects, so I think that it's about time we give the people their power back, because it's their tax dollars being used for these projects, and that's one thing that I hope to do once in office.
Thank you, DeJuan Thomas. And now I will have to the podium Alan Treese, and I will pose the same question. How do you perceive the level of community engagement regarding the $16 million Build Grant project? Do you believe it is important for residents to be informed and actively involved in the design of public spaces.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Paducah, and thank you for everybody for being here. It's a pleasure to be here to speak this evening. Absolutely 100%. Engagement's key to anything, any decision that's made. One thing that I'm very passionate about when we use the term engagement is the idea, that we need to sometimes shift away from doing things to and for people to a mindset of doing things with people. Getting voice, getting opinion, giving them the opportunity to share their thoughts, share their passions, share their interests. And I think that comes to any kind of engagement. We want to make sure they've got voice. We want to make sure we support that and hear the voice of the people, everybody that's impacted, and also follow through with the process. A lot of times when it comes to engagement or different kind of projects, a lot of times there's a lot of energy up front. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of planning, there's a lot of engagement up front, planning and getting involved with the process. But then as it progresses, do we really follow up? Do we let people know where the process is or what the next steps are or where we're at during those processes? So all those things are things that we all need to work on as a body, as a commission, as a city, as a community. Those are things we need to work on as well. How we engage, listening, but then also following through with our plans.
Thank you, Mr. Treese. And now I will bring to the podium Commissioner Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. Projects like the Build Grant usually start from 3 different areas: from input from the city, input from our visitors, or available money from our federal government. And the Build Grant was one of those that really came from all 3. The citizens, we were hearing about transformation of our city and our riverfront. We were hearing about it from visitors that were coming in on the riverboats, and there was federal money that was available. We applied in 2018 and were not successful. We went back to fight for that in 2019, and we were awarded $10.4 million from the federal government, of which Leader McConnell helped to get that to us. We have taken that, and we have also added more engagement from our citizens, from our state government officials, and from our federal officials, and by being awarded $3.5 million recently from our state legislature to help us. So it is a project that will be transformative for our downtown riverfront, and I think that every citizen will be very proud of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Thank you, candidates, for actively listening and then also providing feedback to those that sit before you. And now I will bring up Rodney Holt, who will pose our next question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Griffin, if you would go ahead and step, I'll read this question to you. The city has hired a DEI specialist. In your opinion, how has this initiative contributed to improving diversity and inclusion within the community, or what would you like to see from this initiative?
Well, I don't know that I've seen anything from the new person of what they've done, but that said, I believe Paducah is a very diverse town. I mean, we've got people from all walks of life here, and if you go downtown on a Saturday night, there's everybody there, and I think having the DEI, I got mixed feelings on that. It's a shame we have to have that people can't treat people with respect. I mean, everybody ought to be treated with respect and dignity. It doesn't matter what color or what orientation you are or anything or what your opinions are, but I believe that anything that we can do to help with that is great.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Commissioner Henderson, same question to you. How has this initiative contributed to improving diversity and inclusion within the community, or what would you like to see from this initiative?
Well, this initiative came 2 years ago, I think, when we had a priority of minority inclusion here in the city of Paducah. And just in March, we just hired a person who serves as a DEI specialist. And I think that position is so important for our city, and I think that position will help create a culture. And I want you to really emphasize that term culture, help create a culture where we are even more diverse. We may be diverse in some areas, but we're not diverse in every area. And so we've got a lot of work to do. We've done a lot, but we've got a lot of work to do, and I think it's important. But check this out. When we talk about diversity and equity and inclusion, we have to have everybody at the table to talk about that initiative, but we also have to believe that they belong at the table. And I think that's important. So we're on a roll, and we're going to work hard, and if elected again, or I guess I should be positive and say when elected again, we're going to continue putting resources and energy to diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging, and it begins from the city, the mayor, and commissioners, and it trickles on down to everywhere else.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Smith?
Yeah, can you rephrase the question again? I'm sorry, just.
How has this initiative of hiring a DEI specialist, how has it contributed to improving diversity and inclusion within the community? Or what would you like to see from this initiative?
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, yeah, for me, I'll step back a little bit. What we get out of this is the people look to government to lead. You know, all the money we get, we get people's money. It doesn't matter what color you are, what your orientation is, but we get their money to spend. And that also means that the way we do business, it's got to be balanced, and we've got to make sure that, that we are treating everybody fairly. Everyone's got an equal chance. And what I want to see out of this is, you know, after a year or two, I'd like to see how our statistics work as far as our diversity in the city's workforce specifically. And then also, I think it raises awareness among the community. You know, the city's done this, here's the success they've had. You know, maybe I'm a business owner, a large business owner, and, you know, maybe I need to also focus on that too. So I think being a leader and being an example is really important. So that's what I'd like to see out of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Mr. Thomas.
Yep. So when it comes to DEI, I got to say first and foremost that I was one of the first handful of members of the Paducah Diversity Advocacy Board that was brought together. And after building the foundation, we finally started taking the steps to do our part in the community when it comes to DEI. And even I got to plug in with the Uppertown Heritage Foundation. I'm a new member of that board for the Hotel Metropolitan, and we just got a $1 million grant, you know, to preserve the history of that. And, you know, that includes diversity. Because our history is important, because if we forget our history, we're doomed to repeat it. And I see in big politics that DEI is sort of a swear word, but it's needed. We have groups of individuals that don't get treated fairly. And I can say from my own experience here in Paducah, Paducah's great. We have kind people, welcoming people here, but there's always room for improvement. But it takes us coming together in unity. And despite background, ethnicity, and even political affiliation, we are all one race, the human race. And I hope to spread that message of unity all throughout my political career. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Treese.
Yes, I think the specialist position is a home run. I think it's something that's incredibly needed. It's incredibly important to the community, but for people. You know, Commissioner Henderson mentioned, you know, it starts at the top. When you're talking about diversity, you know, that's what I love about Paducah. I love the diversity. I love the difference. You know, it's not just always about race. There's differences in religion. There's differences in economics. There's difference in all different types of people. And that's what I love about our community. I think it's got to be something that we're always aware of, and we're always talking about and having those discussions. But it's not just your city commission, your mayor, your leadership. It's you. It's everybody in our community having that voice, feeling welcome, feeling appreciated, feeling like you are heard, and people are listening to what you need and what your thoughts are and what your feelings are. That's what all ties into DEI for me. And that's why I'm passionate about that subject, but also supportive of that role because of the critical nature and the great topics and discussions that it leads to.
Thank you, Mr. Treese. Commissioner Wilson.
Well, I believe that the city has made a lot of progress these past few years with addressing that. First of all, we talk about it a lot. And not only do we talk about it, but we take actions. When we have open positions for hiring, we take that all into consideration. I know the mayor goes through appointments for boards very closely to ensure that that is being considered. We now have the Paducah Diversity and Advocacy Board. The Human Rights Commission has been reactivated, and as you mentioned, we have hired a diversity specialist. She's only been with us for a few months, but I know that she's going to accomplish great work. I believe all of the attention that the city has given to this has raised us up as a better community. As JW has said many times, we're a better community when we all work together. It has had a positive overflow throughout the community. It's in our culture as a city, and it's in my culture as a person. And I know as a leader, I've been very active with working with the Lincoln Center and with the Hotel Metropolitan. So I think that, when we all work together as a united community, we're going to see better and great things. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. And thank you, candidates, for your insight. At this time, I am honored to bring up to the podium Mr. Terrence Robinson.
Thank you. And can Mr. Griffin take the stand, please? So the first question is, what is your position on homelessness and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address this issue? Additionally, considering the concerns of youth in our community regarding housing and homelessness, what message would you like to convey to both young residents and the broader community about the situation in Paducah? So the first part said, what is your position on homelessness and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address the issue?
Start with that one. Well, that's the million-dollar question right there. Homelessness is a problem countrywide here. I mean, there's the simple answers of we need better jobs. We need affordable housing, which affordable housing, I don't think that that's the key word anymore. I think it's obtainable housing. What would be a good start? The easy start is, like they talked about earlier, is, the South Side. They're talking about the incentives they're wanting to give for the South Side. Things like that. I think that the city can't really be in the homelessness business, but I think we need to partner up with the religious sector, the churches, and partner with them more so, because I'm just being real, the city of Paducah can't solve everything. We can't solve everything. Every city in the country has a homeless problem. And it's a shame and it's a sad situation that really our country in general has gotten to that situation, but it's not just our problem. It's nationwide. I don't know what the solution to it is. I think that we need to get, Commissioner Henderson, he probably knows more about it than anybody because he runs the Warman Center and deals with the homeless people a lot down there. But it is a problem and it needs to be addressed. It does need to be addressed through the city. But the answer is, I don't know. I don't think anybody knows the answer. That's my answer.
And for the second part, considering the concerns of youth in our community regarding housing and homelessness, what message would you like to convey to both young residents and the broader community about the situation in Paducah?
I still am not understanding that last part.
You want to skip that one? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Okay. And Commissioner Henderson? What is your position on homelessness and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address this issue?
Okay. Well, did you know that On any given day, there are 4,000 individuals who are classified as homeless in the state of Kentucky. And perhaps you didn't know that that number is growing right here in Paducah. There are two things that I don't think that we can do. One, we cannot ignore it. Two, we can't hide from it. When we ignore it, then we live our lives as if it does not exist. If we hide it, then what we want to do is find some far off place to put some type of building or some type of structure to accommodate those who are homeless. We cannot hide it. We cannot ignore it. Now, I heard a few weeks ago that the homeless problem is a church problem. As the kids would say, true that. It is a church problem. But listen to this. Having served as pastor of the Washington Street Church for the last 32 years, churches are just like any other organization. We lack volunteers. We lack funding. We lack just knowing what to do, so we get in there and do the best that we can do. But here's what I want you to catch. It is a city problem. If churches are not able to come together and do all that they can do in trying to solve the problem, then the city can't just say, well, that's a church problem or a faith community problem, and we'll let them handle it. I think that while it is a church issue, a church problem, the city should do more in providing resources, and we have done some things. We've spent a considerable amount of money on a study by the Salvation Army few years back. So we've done some things, but that's not enough. So we have to bring churches together, bring organizations together. As a matter of fact, here's a cheap plug. On September the 14th, Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Washington Church, we're having a breakfast just for churches and pastors to share with them how they can be involved in this whole process. It's a struggle that our entire city must face, must work to solve. Up to now, the community has been very, very helpful, been bringing money and bringing resources and bringing all kinds of things, but that just does not end the problem. The city, I think, needs to begin to talk about how do we get people back into society? How do we address some of the challenges or some of the issues that has caused some of the homelessness? Some of it is mental health, other is not, but it's not all mental health. Some of it is just not enough money at the end of the month. There are all kinds of reasons as to why we see a homelessness increase in our city, but we just cannot decide that one group of people needs to take care of that or needs to handle that, and the city take an hands-off approach. So that's what I'm thinking about homelessness. Now I've got some other notes on homelessness that I wrote down, but I won't bring all that now. I'm not at Washington Street Church, so I can't give you all that right now. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Smith, what is your position on homelessness and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address this issue?
Well, I wish I had a magic bullet. It's a very complicated situation that involves, in many instances, mental health, drug use, and oftentimes those are intractable problems. I think, like Commissioner Henderson said, I think that we have relied on the faith community, and they're really getting strained because of it. I do think it's a partnership between government as well as volunteer organizations. They don't all have to be faith-based, but I think that there's some things that we can do. I can't say that it's a solution. There's a lot of countries, a lot of cities across the United States that have put a lot of resources on this. And I don't know if it's something that can be solved. I think that it can be treated, but I don't know if there is a solution to it. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
What is your position on homelessness, and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address this issue?
Definitely. Homelessness has been one of my priorities for several years now, and even outside of politics with the nonprofit Hands of Hope, we help struggling families and individuals with temporary housing here in Paducah, especially during the wintertime. And I've even worked with Reverend Henderson at the Warming Center when they needed help, staffing that facility. So I've been able to really get to learn more about our unhoused population here in Paducah and the struggles they face. And as some of the others have mentioned, mental health is a big part of that. A little personal story of mine, I have an aunt that's homeless right now in Paducah. She had a home, she had a car, but she just wasn't right. She had an incident many years ago where she had brain damage. So sometimes we need to really focus on some of the behind the scenes things, such as mental health and getting more mental health aid here in the city. And I don't believe in unlimited handouts, because a lot of my priorities are based off what the community says, and I hear people say they don't believe in handouts. And I can agree, we don't need handouts, but we do need hand-ups. And even this past year, thank you, I've been to several meetings held by organizations here in the city talking about homelessness, and even more recently with the Salvation Army. And I can say plans are being put together by these local organizations that will help navigate our homeless population to resources they need to get back on their feet. And I especially want to look out for our homeless veterans, and just veterans in general, because some may not be homeless, but they do not receive the care they deserve. And they may not be a local fix, but when I run for higher office, I plan to take a stand for our veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Treese, what is your position on homelessness, and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address this issue?
I think homelessness, it's a nationwide problem. It's all across the country. We've seen a lot of different ways, a lot of different factors that cause it, and Paducah's no different. I think it was in 2012, maybe 2013, our United Way here started having those discussions in impact poverty, talking about the impact and homelessness being a big part of that. And from those discussions and those work over years, you start to see resources like the community kitchen. You start seeing more warming centers. You start seeing more things pop up in our community because we had those conversations, which are not always easy to have, to talk about those things that maybe we see, but we're not always comfortable sharing our feelings about. But I think moving forward, it's going to take a strategic approach moving forward as well, and it's going to take the city to take that lead, whether it's leading with our churches, whether it's leading with our school system, whether it's leading with our nonprofits, whether it's leading with our mental health professionals. There's so many different people that are working in those areas to try to solve that problem, but there's so many different variables that impact that problem, from housing to mental health to everything else. It's going to take a strategic approach. It's going to take leadership and the city to lead that charge, but it's not going to happen overnight. There's not going to be a silver bullet, as was mentioned earlier. It's going to take time to fix those things and get people the help and resources that they need.
Thank you, Mr. Treese. Commissioner Wilson, what is your position on homelessness, and what strategies do you believe should be implemented to address this issue?
I believe it is a problem throughout our country. There have been studies conducted locally about the possibility of building a homeless shelter, and it's my understanding that it really did not support us doing that, as you mentioned about having it located somewhere out. There are different opinions on how the strategy might be. Some of it is to just get people in jobs, and some people want to do the handout and the hands up. We do have much needed resources currently available thanks to a lot of our organizations, the Washington Street Church with a warming center, the Community Kitchen, who provides so many services, the Salvation Army Life Navigation Center, and now the new Goodwill Opportunity Center on Broadway. They are truly helping people to get back into the workforce if that's what they want to do. And we know we do have open jobs in our community. They can help them with their resumes. They can help them if they need expungement. Whatever that they may need, they have those steps. I don't believe there is just one answer that's going to solve it. It is going to have to be all of us working together to continue to show support and, quite frankly, just a lot of love for people who need us to be helping to reach them up to make any kind of dent in this issue. And I plan to make sure that my pastor is at that meeting with you. I will certainly encourage him to be there. Our church does our own community kitchen every Sunday, and I know I've heard and have seen how attendance has been increasing. And so that is a problem that it's going to take all of us, our nonprofits, our churches, our city, our county, our state, and our country to work together on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Thank you to all the candidates. And I'd like to pass it back to Ms. Tiffany Benberry.
The city offers a range of incentives for new businesses, housing, remote workers, and more. What is your assessment of the effectiveness of these incentives, and do you believe there should be additional incentives aimed at promoting minority-owned businesses? Mr. Griffin?
Incentives in new businesses. You know, I don't know for sure on all what they've given in incentives to businesses, but I know that we've given incentives to some businesses that didn't stick around real long. So I think if we're going to give the incentives, there needs to be a structure to, you're going to have to be here this long or we want our incentive money back. And I think that's great. I mean, anytime that you can help a business, that's fantastic. And as far as housing incentives, you know, again, I mentioned the South Side, that would be fantastic if we got that off the ground where people could, you know, have obtainable housing. I mean, that's going to help so many things. If you could get that off the ground and you had houses and the city was, I don't know, I think I heard a number one time they were going to put $25,000 towards a home to the people buying it. You know, that makes a difference. That gets that young couple that kickstart. The South Side with those incentives could be a bigger deal than Lower Town was. That's going to be a bigger impact because it's going to be a larger group of people. Now, as far as incentives for minorities and in businesses, absolutely. I mean, everybody that can get some help to get kick-started, that would be great, especially if you could get businesses, give people incentives to open businesses over on the South Side with the new houses. I mean, that would be fantastic, but I think we have to be careful with those incentives not to just write checks and then the incentive runs out and they've moved off back to Columbus, Ohio, or wherever they came from. That's my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Commissioner Henderson, I pose the same question.
Certainly, everybody needs to be incentivized every now and then in some way, some shape, some form. Let me start with minority businesses. I think that a lot of our, not a lot, but our minority businesses need to be incentivized. I've never started a business, but I can only imagine the difficulties and the challenges that come from trying to start a business and to make that business successful. One of the things that I know that's happening, and I've not had an opportunity to attend, but one of the things that I know that's happening, I think a couple of times a month, are where small businesses, minority businesses, owners are coming together and they are incentivizing each other. In other words, they're sitting around the table talking about things that have worked for them, things that have not worked for them. They're sharing struggles, they're sharing victories. So they're encouraging each other along the way. And that within itself certainly is a good incentive to continue to go, because I can only imagine if you're starting a business, whether it's a small business, large business, minority business, I can only imagine how difficult it can be when it's like the Maytag man. You ever remember the Maytag man? He was the loneliest. I'm dating myself a little bit. But the Maytag man, it just came to my mind. The Maytag man was the loneliest appliance man in town. And it's difficult when you are a business person and you're lonely because you don't have customers coming in. So what can the city do to help you in that process? I think that it's a good possibility, and I agree with Brother Griffin. We just can't start writing checks to everybody and then folk pick up and leave, but we have to have some commitments that you're going to be here for a minute, that you're going to be in this community for a little while. We have to, can we provide some low-interest loans? Can we provide some grants to help you do some of the things that need to be done? Can we provide monies that can pay rent for a couple of months? I don't know, but it's worth us sitting down, talking about, and making sure that people, when they start businesses, that they have a good chance at surviving in that business. And so I'm looking at your face, so it's time for me to sit down. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Henderson. Commissioner Smith?
I guess start with the housing first. You know, we've created a housing program that incentivizes, it's targeted to the south side, but I mean, we could do it elsewhere. But it's targeted to homeowners that want to fix their house up. They have to do certain things, and they have to make a commitment to fix their house up. So we've got that. We also have an infill program to infill on vacant lots in the south side. We've had, I think we've had a couple of bites on the home improvement one. Frankly, I don't think it's been as successful as we would have liked for it to been. We have been able to incentivize, we've got 2 builders that have taken 2 city lots in the south side that are going to do new builds down there. So I'm hoping that's going to be the very start of that. And part of that was that we hosted a seminar. We brought in some experts that had done in other cities to talk about, you know, becoming an entrepreneur when it comes to developing, remodeling houses, that sort of thing, to try to get the south side going. So we've been doing some things like that. I think we need to tweak that so it's more successful than it has been. We've got more money to give if we've got the right people that are interested in. As far as incentivizing particular business people or want to be business people, minority business people, I think that is difficult on the surface. I think that they would have to be able to say, if we want to revitalize the south side and maybe we felt like a coffee shop was good in that area, I think something targeted is good, because I don't think the city's capable of, you know, picking winners and losers and who to help. I mean, does the world need another, you know, what is a small business? Is it a tattoo parlor? Is it another plumber? We probably need a lot more plumbers, because plumbers are very expensive. But it's, you know, it would be difficult to pick, you know, who do you incentivize and who you don't, that sort of thing. And you can't just incentivize everyone. So thank you.
For our next 3 candidates, we're going to pose a different question. While we acknowledge the increased attention given to the South Side, there is still a need for further action. What 2 specific incentives or initiatives do you intend to implement to enhance support for the residents in that community and other underrepresented communities like LGBTQ+?
All right, thank you. But I'm going to touch on that previous question real briefly. I was prepping for it, so I'm going to be quick. But I'm no expert when it comes to the effectiveness of our city's business incentives. But what I can say is I've spoken to the local business owners, And sometimes they tell me Paducah's not a business-friendly city. And that shocks me when I hear that. But it boils down to not just the elected officials, but the city employees. And when it comes to our inspections department, I've heard a lot about our inspections department being hard to work with. And that's something that I want to look into whenever I'm in office. And also, with that, I didn't get my legal degree for no reason. So I've been doing my research at the library, reading up on KRSs and things like that. And I want the commission to correct me if I'm wrong. But according to, from the research I've done, there's industrial revenue bonds that can be issued by state and local governments in Kentucky to help finance industrial buildings as defined by KRS 103.200 and housing projects. Bond funds may be used to finance the total project cost, including engineering, site preparation, land, buildings, machinery, and equipment, and bond issuance cost. So that's something I want to really look into, and if that's not something we can do, then please correct me. But if it is, that's an area we need to look into, and that's why I hope to be an asset to the city with my legal background. And when it comes to the South Side, could you repeat that one more time for me?
Yes, sir. Thank you for that response.
Yes, ma'am.
While we acknowledge the increased attention given to the South Side, there is still a need for further action. What two specific initiatives do you intend to implement to increase support for the residents of that community and other underrepresented communities like LGBTQ+?
Great question. So it seems that our South Side has been used as a political word for brownie points for some time. When I ran for mayor over 4 years ago, I was the first person to speak up about our South Side, to my knowledge. Now, it's been a city priority for nearly 4 years, but when I talk to residents, they say they've only had one trash pickup, and that's about it. And I know there are people in office that are genuinely wanting to make a difference with our South Side, but it takes 3 votes to make a change. And if we don't have people in office serious about helping our overlooked communities, we have a major problem. But also I think it goes back to a lack of organization in the city. And I've spoken to former city employees and current city employees, and they tell me that there's a lack of organization when it comes to not just the elected side, but the city or the employee side. And that's something that also needs to be looked into. And with my military background, I hope to come in there and bring some organization. And when it comes to the South Side as a priority, I think there's still work to be done there. You know, there's improvements that need to be made, and, you know, doing my part to help out. I'm out there in the community. I'm talking to the residents. I'm seeing what they need, and I think we need to have a town hall with those residents, because we can't just keep saying, oh, what we think needs to be done. We need to ask them, what do you need done in your community? And that's what I plan on doing with those elected beside me.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
You know, I think with the South Side, first off, you know, I've been fortunate to speak to a number of different groups, one of them being the South Side Steering Committee, led by Mr. Mike Muscarella. Those that know Mike, you're not going to find a bigger champion for any great cause in this community. Mike loves this community and everything about it. Going and listening to the conversations they have, the steering committee, and the passion that they have, and trying to think of different ideas and different incentives and how to get those to the people that need them. Those incentives are in place. They're great opportunities. But I think there is a disconnect on making sure that people understand how to access those and how to use those to better themselves, better their property, better their lives, better the South Side. So I think it really comes down to communication, how we communicate, when we do it. To circle back to a point earlier today, it's easy to get excited about an initiative and have great meetings, but then how do we follow that up? How do we make sure people stay engaged? How do we make sure they stay informed and up to date on what's going on and what's happening around them in their community? So I think it comes back to that point of doing things with people and giving them voice, having your town hall meetings, but also having smaller local neighborhood, community, street level meetings where it's focused on just that area. What do you see in that neighborhood? How can we fix it? What do you need? Because you have to hear their stories, their voice. You can't just assume that we know what's good for the entire South Side of Paducah. You need to hear their voice about what's going on this part. What are your ideas? If you come from somewhere else, what ideas worked other places? Work with a housing authority who has great ideas and has gone out into the other areas of the country to see what ideas are happening in other places. Explore those opportunities. Don't get stuck in a mindset of we know what's best and we're just going to push this along. So you look at those housing incentives, you look at those job creation incentives. I think those are great. I think those work, but I think you also have to be thoughtful and strategic on who they are offered to. to make sure they are something that's going to benefit the community, but then also following up with people to make sure they understand why there's a need, how to access them, and how to take advantage of those. And as far as with underrepresented communities and groups, I think, again, it's the conversation piece. It's about being intentional. It's also about being comfortable having conversations that you might not be comfortable having. Inviting people to a table, listening to their opinion, listening to their needs, even if you don't agree or you don't identify or you don't understand what those needs are, listening, taking in that information, asking questions, and seeking input from people that may have different perspectives. That way you have a better idea about what the needs are of everybody in the community.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Treese. Commissioner Wilson?
Second question.
I'll let you either answer the first or the second.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go ahead with the second one. The South Side has been a focus for Mayor Bray and this commission. As you may remember, one of the first actions that was taken when Mayor Bray was elected is that we had multiple public meetings specific about the South Side in the South Side, to listen to residents there. When they walked up to the podium, they told us where they lived. They told us what they would like to see there. That was all categorized. We listened, and we've been working through that list. The revitalization of the historic Jeton building to put affordable housing in there, along with the Paducah Symphony, was a big priority. That the city did provide some incentives, but a private developer came in and helped to develop that. That has really launched a lot of area to help grow. The Walter Jeton Boulevard has been a priority for us, and Paducah Power is helping us to make sure that the lighting is improved there. We do have $1 million set aside for housing grants, and a lot of that's specific for the South Side. There have been health-related studies. You mentioned Mike Muscarella, and he had a team here this summer that walked the South Side, talking to residents there, giving them information about health care. And they identified specific census tracts that had specific health-related issues. And 2 of those interns walked through that area giving out blood pressure kits so that people could help monitor their blood pressure. When I look at the South Side, I just want to say, though, I see so much potential and so much current activity in that area. When you begin to drive down 3rd Street, which becomes Park Avenue, which becomes the I-24 loop and Husbands Road, you start at Ingram Barge. You see them on your left if you're driving out of town. A beautiful facility that provides wonderful jobs for our community. You see major employers like the Riverport, Beltline Electric. When you get to the big intersection, on your left is going to be James Marine with a big hiring sign on it. On the right, you have Walgreens, Walmart, Lowe's, and Kroger. You continue on down and you see Vywintech and CFSB and many locally owned restaurants. So there is so much potential that's circling that area, and it's also hard to identify what is really considered the South Side, but there is so much potential around there for people to take pride in and to be a part of and to help us to grow. You asked for 2 specifics. One for me would be taking the housing incentives to the next level, identifying specific areas that we can bring in housing potential. We know we need more houses in our community at all levels. And that would be a great area that we could start. I think it works better when you group houses together. A lot of young professionals are moving to our community. If we could have something that would be attractive to them and help them where they would want to live together, that would be great. The second one is I was shocked when Mike Muscarella and that group talked about the healthcare needs in specific census tracts and what was going on in that area. And I think that we need to work with the Health Coalition as a community to help address that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson, and thank you, candidates, for your response. Now I will bring to the podium Ms. Amina.
I want to thank our moderators for helping us go through the Q&A session and helping the candidates with that dialogue. I think we raised some important issues and topics that hopefully those that are in attendance and watching online were able to learn something about each of the candidates through their responses. All right, so we are pushed for time. I'm over schedule and I'm starting to freak out, but I want to give all of the candidates one last chance to speak on their platform, and I'll just pose the question, why should our community vote for you? And if we can be as brief as possible.
I'm Trey Griffin. I'm running for city commissioner. I moved here in 1986, right after high school, went straight into the building and trades, became a plumber. I've been that for about 37 years. I've been in business in Paducah, making a payroll for 21 years. I know a little bit about running the business, building a business, and I think I can take that experience with me to City Hall. There's a lot of things that need to be addressed there, but this is a great community, and there's nobody up here wanting any ill will. This is all good people up here. But I want to be your next commissioners board. I appreciate your time. Thanks to the NAACP for having us. I'm telling you, I'm not a politician. I'm dying up here, but I've really had a good time tonight. But I'm number one on the ballot. That's Trey Griffin for Paducah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trey. All right. This sitting Sunday morning, so you got 1 minute.
I already knew the ushers will be on each side. As you leave, just drop your donation. I already knew that Ms. Watkins had said that we wanted to be brief, and that's why I brought out my prepared notes on this one, so I would be brief. I'm completing my fourth year as a city commissioner, and I have enjoyed every moment of this privilege to serve our community. I humbly ask for your support, for your vote, to continue in what I believe to be a great work. My tenure has been 4 years of learning from people and serving these same people. My platform is simple: building Paducah by building people. The Ronaldo Henderson campaign and service has always been for every citizen to, one, be heard, to know that they are important, to be treated with dignity, and to have the tools available to them to choose the life that they want to live. This is how we built Paducah. This is how we built people, rather, and ultimately we built Paducah. I am the 32-year senior pastor of the Washington Street Baptist Church, and I have been married to the former Sherry Adams for 36 years. Together we have 3 adult children and 2 grandchildren. I am last on your ballot, but I should be first on your mind. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Buzz Smith. I'm a 6th-generation Paducan, and not just living around here. My family has lived in the city of Paducah for 6 generations. I've served almost 7 terms, the longest serving person, but the unique thing is that I got off city commission for 15 years, so I go back a long way. I know a lot of things that have worked and a lot of things that have not worked. So, I've never wanted to be a placeholder on the city commission. I've always wanted to get things done. I want to look back, and I've been involved in a lot of successes in the Lower Town, Fountain Avenue. Those are, great things going on. Recently, the sports park, working on the Build grant. The South Side is something we have not scratched the surface on the South Side, and there's a lot of work to be done there, and we can take a lot of the successes that we've had and we can bring that over to the South Side with the right amount of energy, funding, that sort of thing. And I think that this next term will really be good where we get some things to gel on there. I'm glad to be here. I feel like I'm among kindred spirits. We all want what's really good for Paducah. And so I thank you all for your involvement, and please vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. DeJuan Thomas.
Again, my name is DeJuan Thomas, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And with all due respect to the 2 additional challengers that are here, especially Mr. Treese, I've known him for quite some time, but there's only 1 seat that's open. And I've put in the time and the effort in our community to be put in this position. I've been honing in my skills. I received my master's degree in legal studies from American University, Washington College of Law, with a focus in U.S. legislation. I studied state, local, and federal government and how to operate all of those governments. And I've been chasing this dream not just for myself, but for the community members that want and need a new voice in office. I've been out in the community, and my priority list is community concerns. It's not just what I want, or what a friend wants, or what a family member wants. It's what the community wants. So I encourage you to vote for me. I've tirelessly stood by our community, and now I need you to stand by me at the polls. And to rest some worry that I hear from some people, I'm not here to flip tables or cause conflict or cause strife or arguments. That's not my goal. I'm ready to work alongside those elected beside me, being an asset for the city and not a liability. So I hope over these past few years, I've gained your trust. And I don't plan to let you down once elected. Again, my name is DeJuan Thomas. I'm running for Paducah City Commission. You can find more about me on my website, DeJuanThomas.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you all for showing up tonight and being here to listen to us speak. In front of you, you've got 6 willing and able candidates that are asking for your vote for City Commission. It's my honor to be here. My name's Alan Treese. Born and raised in Paducah, class of '99, Paducah-Tillman. Both of my parents were educators. My dad was a football coach at Paducah-Tillman. Over the years, seeing the impact they had on youth really drove me to my career, helping youth as well. Now, the day goes by, a week goes by where I don't hear stories about the positive impact that my parents had on youth. And as a child growing up and hearing those stories, that really pushed me to want to have that same impact. So I went on to work for Boys and Girls Clubs here in Paducah and also Cape Girardeau as well. And I've always tried to work with that same mindset of trying to be a positive change, try to be that positive influence, the change you want to see in the world, try to model that. And that's what I want to bring to this role as City Commission. It's something that's always been in my heart. It's always been something I've always wanted to do and to pursue. And now seems like a great time to do that. And when it comes to the decision in November, it's a critical decision that everybody in this room is going to have to make. Again, you've got 6 willing and able candidates, but I do ask humbly for your vote. I promise that I will do everything in my power in that role to be a voice for you, to listen, and to advocate for the things that all of our citizens in our community need and want to be successful, because that's what I want to see Paducah be, is successful for everybody. So again, my name is Alan Treese. I ask for your vote in November, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you. And last but not least, Commissioner Sandra Wilson.
Thank you, Mina. Thank you to the NAACP for hosting this for us tonight. I have had the honor of serving as your Paducah City Commissioner for the past 12 years and as Mayor Pro Tem for the past 8 years. It's been my privilege to serve this community. I've now served with 3 mayors and multiple city commissions. I have a thorough understanding of what can and can't be done. That time of service brings experience with it. I have the passion to serve, but also have the knowledge and the experience. And I want to tell you that experience matters. My family and I are very committed to this community. My husband, Ed, and I feel very fortunate that our 3 children are living here with our 5 grandchildren. And the reason none of them are here with me tonight is because my 8th grade grandson had a football game, and I told them all to go ahead and be with him. But there's so much positive growth going on in our community that I want us all to have a lot of pride in it. We need strong, visionary leadership on our city's governing body to continue on a positive path of progress. We need people who are willing sometimes to just step out and fight for our community, to get our part of federal money or state money or anything that can come to our community to make it a better place. You guys know I love what I do, and I love this community. And I felt very fortunate recently that KET came to Paducah. They learned about us. They came in during a quilt feature and did a whole story on us. And they actually talked about that I wake up every day thinking about what can be done for this community to make it a better place. And honestly, that's true in some ways. Maybe not every day, but most of the time, it is working on my mind. I am willing to do the hard work. I'm willing to travel on behalf of this community to represent us with the Energy Communities Alliance, for example, a national trade association that municipalities and communities, governments that have a DOE site can belong to learn what's happening across the country. I'm willing to do the hard work, and I have a track record of delivering success to this area. Many of the projects that we have talked about tonight, the Build Grant, the Jeton Stadium, a lot of those projects, the new sports park, all of these projects I've had the opportunity to be involved with for the past few years. And with my regional, state, and national relationships and partnerships that I can help bring back to the city, I will continue to be of service to our community, working hard on your behalf. Experience matters. And on November 5th, I hope that you will remember that, and please re-elect Sandra Wilson as your city commissioner. I thank you for this opportunity to have served, and thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. Let's give all of our candidates and moderators a round of applause before we conclude. Thank you, guys. Yep. So I would like to, as we close, extend a thank you to all the volunteers. If you were coming in early and you went to the student lounge, you saw the AKAs, Omega Psi Phi. We also have the county clerk's office that was here helping to register people to vote. But there's a whole lot of volunteers, even behind the scenes, that helped put this together for this evening. One being my co-chair, Dixie Lynn. I have no idea where she's at. Wave your hand if you're out there. She's probably backstage or across, but I want to give her a thank you for helping organize this with us. And before we conclude, someone mentioned their name and their position being on the ballot. That's very important for you to research and look up what your ballot is going to look like whenever you vote. I add that because there is a important, a crucial measure that's going to be on the ballot that's going to require you to vote. And that is going to be the Kentucky Constitutional Amendment 2, which addresses state funding for non-public education. Understanding what those questions are on the ballot is very important, so I urge you to research. I believe that one of the tables that is over there, I think we tried to get two. Yep, are they both here? Yes, so they are both here. So if you are wondering what that amendment is that is going to be on the ballot, please stop by and see both of those tables so you can make an informed vote this coming November. Okay, so now this is the close of our forum. Thank you all for attending. There's still a little bit of time to meet over back into the student lounge. We do have Voice Thoughts podcast that has been interviewing different attendees, candidates. If you'd like to be interviewed, you may also stop by the booth, but have some time to meet and greet with our candidates and answer or ask any questions that you may have. Thank you all for attending tonight.